Hey guys, welcome. Today I'm testing out Meeden's watercolor paper. Meeden have sent me these two watercolor pads to try out, but all the opinions are my own. And I want to take the chance to show you how I keep my watercolor samples. And later in the video, I'm going to show you how I do the calculation to find out how much I'm paying for watercolor paper. So a long time ago, I made this short video showing how I keep the watercolor samples. It was inspired by another artist here on YouTube. Her name is Alice Lim. I will link to that video here. I noticed my fountain pens behave very differently on different paper, so it's handy to keep them in a pack like this, so I can check and decide which pen and paper to use. Doing these tests also allow me to notice any quirks or something they might not tolerate, like erasing or masking fluid. I can also get a good feel of the texture. I feel like Meeden's cold-pressed paper is a little bit too rough for my taste. It is somewhat similar to Arches or Baohong's cold-pressed paper. If I can find a piece of Arches paper, I'll put a comparison here. I actually prefer the backside of Arches paper. I feel like it's more suitable for fountain pens. It's not as gritty and the ink flows much better. And even when I'm not using fountain pens, I feel like I have to use more water when I'm painting on paper like this, just to avoid the dry brush effect. And sometimes that leads to colors drying much lighter than I intended, so that's a bit annoying. But for their hot press paper, I think the quality is pretty amazing. The colors blend so nicely when you want it to, and the hard edges are very clean and crisp. You don't lose much saturation as the paint dries. Here's a comparison with Arches Natural White hot press paper. The Meeden's paper looks even warmer than the Natural White, which I guess is my only complaint. I wish it comes in high white or bright white as well, but that's just a personal preference of mine. And both the cold press and hot press, they can handle the tape and erasing very well. They have no problem with that. So far, they feel like very reliable and sturdy papers. Okay, so the first painting is with the hot press paper. This cat was featured in Girl with the Dogs channel. She is a pet groomer, and this cat is a calico Maine Coon. Her name is Phoenix. I always find a lot of comfort in watching cats and dogs getting groomed, so that's where I found this reference. Before I started the painting, I used a spray bottle to mist the paper. It has to be a very fine mist nozzle though. I find that it helps to reduce the hard edges in the first layer, but without making the paper too wet. I would say the paper was not even damp, it just had a lot of tiny water droplets all over the place. But the paints won't be crawling or spreading out of control. It just keeps the paper barely wet enough to connect my brush strokes. So that's really all I need for the first layer. Later, when I came back to the left side of her face, the paper has already dried. So I started to consider this as the second layer. I'm starting to build a bit more value here. If you have trouble with the value and depth, you can either turn the reference photo into black and white by reducing the saturation on your phone, or I use this app called C-Value. It gives you a value map of your reference photo. Of course, you can tweak this by adding another value or change the brightness and shapes, or you can use it to study the value plan of your favorite artists. I just found it to be a very helpful tool. Here I'm trying to paint the markings on her forehead. It's kind of like negative painting, so I use my pencil to draw out the shapes I want to leave out, and then painted the darker values around it. The colors I used the most for cats were Van Dyke Brown and Permanent Yellow Deep. I think together with white, or the blank of the paper, these three colors describe the tricolor cats very well. I did use many other colors to push and pull the temperature, but I didn't want it to be so colorful that it started to feel like fantasy based, like cyan and purple. I didn't really want that here. I still wanted this painting to look like that cat herself, so to speak. And I think tricolors or calicos, they're the most fun to paint because the three colors, their values are very distinct. So it's very easy to define them. In the end, I used lamp black to darken the eyes and also to give them a cooler hue compared to the dark fur. They also have to be dark enough so that the highlights can shine in contrast. Overall, I'm very satisfied with this paper. It was very well behaved. I filmed this unboxing months ago and it went to travel with me to France. I had some extremely humid days around the ocean. I'm impressed that the sizing of the paper was not affected by moisture. It still feels very intact. For the next painting, I used their cold-pressed paper. It takes more water and a juicier brush to get it fully covered. So the process was very similar to the first one, but this reference includes more body action. I chose to leave a big chunk of the paper blank because I think it makes the composition more interesting. I used to reject the idea of leaving a lot of blank because I'm still a cheap person. It feels like if I paid for the whole sheet, I would like to get the use out of every inch. Obviously, that's not how composition works, but I think as a beginner, it kept me coming back to my papers to play and experiment. I don't think I've shown anyone this before, but I've been using this Excel sheet to calculate how much I pay for different types and brands and formats of paper. Because I think we all know that it's hard to estimate what we're paying for. Some watercolor blocks comes in 12 sheets, others 20, and then there are different sizes. And on top of that, there could be like a 20 or 25% discount and then shipping. So I use a spreadsheet to calculate the total area of paper I'm getting by length, width, and the numbers of sheets. And then I divide that number with the price I'm paying, including discount and shipping. So I get this index, which I can then compare between brands and suppliers. I also write down my review of the paper in this file so I remember how I felt about using them. This makes it a lot easier for me to compare. And when I want to buy a new kind of paper, I can just type in the dimensions and price. And the calculator will give me that index, which I can then compare with other brands. I've been using this for more than almost 3 years, and the price has gone up quite a bit. So if you're able to, I really recommend you to make a spreadsheet like this for yourself. It's not that complicated really, and you only need to set it up once. But it helps to keep tracks of your spendings on art supplies. I know this seems a bit unnecessary, but I hope this information is useful to someone out there. Anyway, about the painting, I'm trying to make it look like the cat is chasing something outside the frame. But I find it so difficult to capture cat's movements and volume at the same time. I feel like all my cat paintings or drawings, the ones I tried to capture some movements in it, they all look a bit static. Like they ended up looking crawling instead of jumping. My latest oil painting of a cat grabbing its own leg also kind of looked like it's a still image. I really wish I know better how to convey the sense of force and intent. I guess I'm just not there yet. I'm sure someday I'll figure it out. But for now, I'm still quite happy with what I'm able to do. hope after this video you can tell how these paper work, how they handle water and paints, and also my painting process. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!